So welcome, everyone. My name's Paul Meyer. Been organizing this for a couple of weeks, and it continues to grow and have a lot of energy around it. So we're really excited that you're here. We're going to keep it to an hour. We've got a lot of good feedback on that. We have folks joining us from all over the United States and a couple countries outside. We're trying to get a little more organized, so I'm going to display agenda here, and we'll go through that. And I do want to take a few minutes to go through just a couple updates for folks. So, can you guys see my screen? Can someone confirm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great, thanks. So just a little bit about this kind of emerging organization. It's really started and continues to be really a shared learning group. It's been fabulous to see both in these meetings that you'll see if this is your first time, and certainly in the chat and conversations, but it's a lot of exciting stuff, and really warmed my heart that we see all the shared learning that's going on here. We're really focused on practical business issues. So we're not really talking about safety of AI or ethics or impact to kids or anything like that. Those are important issues, but this is more down the fairway for business and real use case, and really demystifying where it works and where it doesn't work. We'll do a poll here in a second, but we continue to find our audience is about 50% business and 50% technical, which is fabulous. The business people tell me they want to understand the technical stuff better, and the technical people tell me they want to understand what actually the use cases are that really adding value. The centerpiece of what we're doing is this meeting on Monday night. It's for the US audience. We also have one on Wednesday morning for the Asian and European audience. That's usually much smaller. It's anywhere between 5 and 30, but it's just fascinating to hear what ChatGPT is doing in Japan. We have Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Thailand. Spoke with someone yesterday from Armenia, so really is a global phenomenon. We've really struggled in the last few weeks of do we do basics in this meeting on Monday or not, and we've decided not to do it. But to meet the fact that 20–30% of the people who attend have never used ChatGPT before, we've set up a ChatGPT basics. We'll try it this week. I can't remember if you go to Meetup websites, either I think Wednesday or Thursday for an hour. And if that works well, we'll do that a few more times. And a handful of you guys have asked for a ChatGPT on for job searching. So really using it to research an industry, research a company, take the job description, your resume, create a customized cover letter, and then create practice interview questions. So if that's something that's interest of you, let me know so we can confirm there's actually a demand out there. Eric Steele, good to see your name. Congrats on the new job. We're really excited. We just published 15, I call them 15 killer ChatGPTs. I put in the chat. A number of you guys have shared your experience, and I appreciate permission. We've made small 1 to 2 minute videos on it, and it's all different folks, and it's really helpful for people just coming into this for the first time, trying to understand where it works and where it doesn't, and actually see your enthusiasm. We've gotten this is a part-time job for all of us, but we've gotten asked. So I've been asked to do four overviews. We've done a 2-hour workshop for Harvard Business School Club of Boston. I've done 3 or 4 presentations for management teams. 2 were at companies. 1 was at a partnership at a VC firm, and we've got 3 more coming here. So if that's of interest to you, let us know. It's really interesting hearing everyone's aware of it, but everyone's different parts of the learning curve and trying to figure out, is this a flash in the pan or not? Does it really affect my company? And for the ones who are through that, the next thing they're going to is, boy, I know that it's important here. How do I get the rest of my management team excited, and really the rest of my employees? And we're working a bunch of stuff to help them with them. Lots of connecting people. So if you want to, looking for business people, looking for technical people, vice versa, let me know. And we've got 4 or 5 other people that are starting to really help us connect people. It's really nice to see all the connections here. For the folks in Boston, this is a really nice conference coming up next Thursday. I don't know if it's sold out. It might be. I'm not sure, but Sam Altman is talking. Lex Friedman's a podcaster. We got someone from DeepMind. Vinod Khosla is a famous VC. So anyway, a lot of good folks. It's all day Thursday the 13th. And a few of us are organizing a social. We'll just find a hotel, not a hotel, a restaurant the night before. So for the folks who are in town or want to network, let me know, and we'll let you know when we've been in the final venue. So let's go to the poll here. All right, let me launch the poll. It's 3 questions. Just kind of asking a little bit of the audience. And Josh, we'll have you start in about a minute after the poll results.
Sounds good, Paul.
While we're waiting, every country, so the guy yesterday in Armenia, it's super popular over there. The student from Japan, and Japan has a $20 premium, super popular over there. And he spoke really good English and said the Japanese is just excellent, both in summarizing Japanese as well as displaying it in analyzing, doing analysis and coming back in Japanese, which is a little more challenging because of the kanji. All right, we have 80% of the people. Looks like there's 80% of the 78 or 76. So let's go through. I think you guys can't see this. I'll just read the results. So technical, it is actually 60% this week and 40% business. So technical, you can actually code in my mind. And business, you've got the use case. Hours per week, 0. I'm here to learn, 22%. So a fifth of our attendees. 1 to 2 hours a week, 38%. That's the majority of you guys. 3 to 5 hours, 18%. And then 20% of you guys are like me, that we use it daily and at least 6+ hours a week. And most people have heard about this through Meetup or Substack. 7 or 11% has been a friend. That's wonderful.
Sorry, excuse me, Paul, should we be seeing these results? I still just see short poll on the screen.
I'm sorry?
I don't see the results. I only see short poll on the screen.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sharing my screen, but do you see?
Okay.
I wonder if it just shows the I think it blocks it for some reason. But I'll take a screenshot and stick it in the chat so everyone can see it.
Yeah, there. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Now we can see it. Oh, not anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Let's keep going. Let's get back to the agenda here, the real work. So thank you, everyone. We got 4 things we want to get done today. So Josh is going to walk us through using R with ChatGPT. We're going to walk through Zihiza. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes.
Thank you. She's going to walk us through prompt engineering, which is great. And then we want to do our usual use cases, although we'll start with Rosemary, who has a particular prompt and use case. And at the end, if we have time, I continue to get questions on what Google Bard is like, and Bing, and other ones that people haven't seen those. So let me stop sharing and turn it over to you, Josh.
Awesome. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I will share my screen.
And introduce yourself too before you go.
Yes, before I do. So hi, everyone. My name is Josh Gilbert. I'm a PhD student at Harvard. I've come to a few of these over the past few weeks. Full disclosure, Paul is family. He's my uncle. So that's how I got the inside track here. And what I'm going to talk about today is the integration of ChatGPT with the R programming language. And for those who don't know, R is an open source programming language that's used extensively in data science, in statistics, in academia, has many uses. And because it's open source, people on the internet just write functions and packages that can be used to extend its functionality. And as of a few weeks ago, someone wrote a package called ChatGPT that integrates ChatGPT into R. So I'm going to demonstrate what that allows us to do and some of the power that it may provide going above and beyond just simply typing into the console online or copying and pasting things into the ChatGPT interface. So I am going to, and I should say, I think this will take maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we can have some time for discussion or questions at that point. So let me share my screen here. Let's see. So if I could get a thumbs up, Paul, if this is visible.
We can see it.
Awesome. So this is R. R, like I said, is a programming language, and I'm not going to, this is not a tutorial on how to code in R, but really just to demonstrate the functionality with ChatGPT. And the way R works is this library function says, okay, I'm going to bring in this user-written ChatGPT function that allows me to integrate ChatGPT with R. And what you can do is when you go to ChatGPT or the OpenAI website, you can get a custom API, which allows you to connect ChatGPT to R, and you have a personal one. So if you have a paid account, you get those extra affordances. I just have a free account, so I think it puts a limit on how many queries I can do per minute, how many tokens it will give me. But if you have a paid account, you can get more of those functions. So just to demo some of the functionality, at its most basic level, it allows you to ask ChatGPT questions directly from your coding platform, which is R in this case, which at first glance is nothing new. I could just put in, ask ChatGPT as the function, and then I just put in my query, and I'll just run this as an example. And what that does is it connects to ChatGPT, and it gives you the answer. Great. Awesome. Nothing new there. I could have just done that on the web portal. It also has some built-in convenience functions for people who do computer programming coding. It has a function called comment code, explain code, optimize code. So if you are working on debugging something, or if you've written something, or you're looking at someone else's code and you don't know what it does, you can have ChatGPT comment it for you. And just to demonstrate that, what it does is it's telling me what R is doing. So if you're learning a programming language, it can be very helpful to understand and to start to build that knowledge. But that by itself is not all that new. You could have just typed that in, copy it and paste that into ChatGPT on the web. Where I think the power really comes is we can leverage R, which is built for data science, for scale. We can ask multiple queries at once. We can take the output of one query and feed that into the next query. And what I'm going to do is demonstrate that with a few toy examples to show how this could be used to really ramp up productivity. So what I've done here is I'm creating a data table of 5 different queries for ChatGPT. And notice they have some typos in them. That's by design to demonstrate a feature. These are just totally random things. What is the secret to a great hollandaise sauce? Who was John Stuart Mill? I love this product and the service is great. So I'm going to do that. And what R does is it stores that object as basically a spreadsheet. And I have this table of queries, and I have 5 here, but this could easily be 10,000. So imagine 10,000 emails you want to respond to, or 10,000 reviews you want to summarize. And what I can then do using the power of R or other computing languages is I can create functions that will take those inputs and do certain things to them. So here I'm saying I'm going to create a function to fix the typos in these queries. So I'm saying take some input X, fix all of the typos in the following, do not include additional comments, and then feed it an X and feed that into ChatGPT. Then I can ask ChatGPT, summarize the topic of the following in 1 word. Or for example, is the sentiment of the following positive, negative, or neutral? Return a single word response. These are, again, sort of toy functions just to demonstrate the power, but you could write any sort of query you want to take multiple inputs to ChatGPT and then feed them in through R in an automated way. So you're not copying and pasting results. You're not typing things over. You don't have a Word doc open with all your output there. And what this is some R code, which is just a few lines. It looks like it's 6 or 7 lines here. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm saying, first, fix the typos, then identify the topic of this query, then identify the sentiment of this query, and then just give me the answer to the query from ChatGPT. So I'm asking ChatGPT to do 4 things on 5 queries in this sort of sequential way. So I'm going to run that. It will take about 30 seconds. And we can see as it's thinking at the bottom here, it's going through each of those queries one after another. And it is going to store those results and give them back to me in a nice, beautiful spreadsheet where I can then use them for whatever purpose I have. So it is almost done, I think. Okay, so what do we get at the output? My data table now has 5 columns in it. I have my original query with my typos. I have my one with the typos removed, and we can see ChatGPT has done a great job fixing it up and making it clean. So imagine proofreading 1,000 abstracts or whatever that might be. I'm getting ChatGPT to give me the topic of each query that I have in one word, so we can see how this might be used for looking at customer reviews or customer service. I'm getting it to identify the sentiment of the query, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral, and then I can just get the straight answer, right? Who was John Stuart Mill? And it's going to give me the ChatGPT answer for that. So what I've done is I have 20 responses or 20 outputs of ChatGPT that I was able to get in an automated way without copying and pasting, without typing, and it's all stored right here. I can come back to it for later use. And again, the beauty is it can go far beyond 5 examples. We could have 1,000 examples up to the point that you're running into the usage limits that ChatGPT is imposing. And just as another example of what this could do with maybe a slightly more realistic is, let's say I'm a teacher and I have a bunch of essays from my students. And these right here are essays that about some question about computers. I could have ChatGPT score all of these essays without having to feed them in one at a time to ChatGPT. And what I'll do here is the same thing. It's just going to take a sort of a random sample of them because I have 15,000 and that would take a while to demonstrate here. But again, I'm taking some input, the essay, and I'm getting it, score the grammar of this essay, score the content of this essay, provide some feedback for this essay all at once in the computing language of R. And let's see, I think it's getting close to the end here, but we can see at the bottom of the screen as it's going through those inputs. And I can see it's given a numeric score to each essay. It's giving a suggestion to each essay. So I could use this to sort of industrialize and scale up the usage of ChatGPT. So just to finish off, thinking about what these use cases are, or just to summarize, no more copying and pasting. I have this saved on my computer. I can come back to it the next day. Everything I have is there. I don't have to wait, what did I type in yesterday to get the response that I want? We can iterate and chain things together. I can take the response, the output of one ChatGPT prompt and feed it into some other ChatGPT prompt. I can save and analyze responses. I could have ChatGPT give me 5 answers to the same response or to the same query if I wanted to. I know we're going to hear maybe more technically about this in a moment, but we could help us experiment with prompt engineering. If I have 10 different versions of a question and I want to see which one is giving me the best results, I can sort of systematize that. I can automate this. I can integrate this with web scraping capabilities of R. We can use long inputs instead of just a single sentence. If I have a bunch of stuff I want to get through, I can use R to feed it in paragraph by paragraph. So just imagine creating customized replies to thousands of emails or reviews, summarizing dozens of interview transcripts or field notes, summarizing thousands of articles, which would all be possible with the ChatGPT web interface, but it would be sort of very tedious to copy and paste one thing to another. Whereas if you have a data set or an Excel spreadsheet of 1,000 emails you want to respond to, you can use this sort of technology and integration with the R programming language to scale that up and get the power of ChatGPT to meet the power of computer programming, iteration, and automation. So I think I will stop it there and turn it back over to Paul, and happy to answer any questions, though I'm by no means an expert.
That's wonderful, Josh. How about some questions for him? Yeah, if you don't mind just raising your hand if you have a question. I know we've got so many people on the call here. Go ahead, Mike. We'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, thank you, Josh. That was great. I think your uncle should pay you some crypto coin for that because it was darn well worth it.
You can leave now,
So
Mike.
one of the questions I had was, I'm assuming you have our experience.
Yes.
So hypothetically, if I was to take this to somebody who was junior who didn't have our experience, could I just ask ChatGPT and say, hey, write this in R for me?
Yeah, what my experience is, it's pretty good with our programming language. So, and this is kind of a meta case, like, because I'm asking ChatGPT how to write code for ChatGPT in R. So I haven't tried that, but certainly it can be extremely helpful for, like, let's say you have a data set, an Excel sheet of 1,000 reviews. You go to ChatGPT and say, how can I load this into R? Yes, it will give you all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I've done that with SQL and with Python before. I was just curious. I have not tried it yet with R, but now I might try it.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
SL, we'll go SL next.
Oh, yeah. Hi, my name is Sejal Lohia, and great presentation. Thanks for organizing this. I truly loved it. I'm new to the world of ChatGPT, so I'm catching up. But just wanted to understand from you, Josh, that is there a limit to the number of queries you can make? So I understand that you fed, some information, but at what time does ChatGPT max out today? And what is the change? What is the difference with ChatGPT Plus?
Yeah, so from my understanding, the free ChatGPT has a query limit of 20 queries per minute, which is much faster than you could type anything. So that's already a huge advantage. So if I was playing around with this, if I try to put in 1,000 things, it will reach that limit. But one thing you can do in R or other programming language is you can add in sort of wait time. I could say, instead of just throwing in query after query as fast as possible, I can say, throw in a query, wait 3 seconds, throw in a query, wait 3 seconds. And that way, if I'm waiting 3 seconds between every query, I'm going to get no more than 20 per minute, right? So there are ways to build into the programming language around that query limit per minute. In terms of ChatGPT Plus, it was on their website. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like 60 queries per minute, which is, again, way faster than any human being could type into ChatGPT, and then something like 100,000 tokens, which is the individual word responses, but it's available online.
And just a few other differences with the paid, you also get access to ChatGPT 4, which I don't think you do in the free. And also I know when I was in the free, they were all constantly having trouble getting on. I had trouble twice on the paid version, so.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, well, Bob, we'll go through Bob.
This Bob?
Yeah, Bob Norden.
Okay. Yeah, I would have let him go. Yeah, a question on the R. Did you have to like append, have a message string going and append the prompt and response, to basically carry on a conversation?
That's how I did it. So I didn't get into the mechanics of the coding, but essentially I had a prompt and then sort of a blank spot for my query. So I had a prompt structure like fix all the typos in X, and then X becomes my prompt. And then what that feeds to ChatGPT is fix all the typos in, John Stuart Mill with the period in the wrong place.
Right.
So that's a very, I think, basic, there maybe is a better way, but that's a very basic way to just integrate those two things.
Yeah, but then did you have a follow-up query where, like in Python, I'm having to append the previous response, to basically carry on the conversation. And I actually had, of all things, I had Python playing football, where each of the query strings was one of the teams each and a referee. And it played about 30 plays. And then I ran out of tokens. I hit the 4,000 limit, which I think has been greatly increased on the GPT-4. So I may have to try that.
Yeah, that's a great point in terms of, this example is not really about carrying on an iterative conversation. It was more like take some output and then feed that into the next input. So I would have to think more about the best way to implement that in R, but I'm sure it is possible. But because you're using your personal API, if you just ask it query after query, it will sort of treat that as a single stream of I've noticed.
Right.
I put in that query, I hate McDonald's or whatever. It says, I don't see how this will help you with your R questions, which was a pre-query. So
Okay.
it does by default, it seems to me, continue that stream
Okay,
unless
good to
you
know.
tell it otherwise.
Thank you.
Great. Let's do we'll do 3 more quick ones and we'll go to the next speaker. Go ahead, Yuri.
Oh, thanks,
And we
Paul.
can finish with Bob. Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. That was great. And I don't know if you know the answer to this question, and I know you're using the R API for using ChatGPT, but I wonder if you know, and I think this relates to Bob's question as well, is the R API using is it sort of screen scraping ChatGPT, or is it using the OpenAI APIs underneath? Because some of
the latter, but I'm not certain.
Right, because some of the issues with the limited number of tokens, it seemed like you're running into sort of ChatGPT limitations, and didn't sound like those are the OpenAI API limitations, which made me think that maybe it's not using the API.
Looks like
but
John Bottoms, you have the answer to this by chance? I see your hand up. You're on mute, John.
I'm waiting for next question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I'll answer too. That's a very good answer. I believe I was using, I was going through the Python interface, so I was probably not using the true OpenAI, and that's good to know. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. 2 more, Ricky and then Bob. Go ahead, Ricky.
So just thank you, Josh. It was very useful. Where can we get this ChatGPT in API for R? Is that easily available on the net, or is that somewhere? Yeah.
So R itself is an open source programming language. You can just go on Google to download that. You can then install the ChatGPT. It's called a package in R that enables that integration. So you can do that. And maybe what I can do is I can share that code with Paul, and he can pass around so people can see exactly what I did in R. And in terms of all you need to do to get the connection is you have to get your API key through the OpenAI website so that it knows it's you. And that's very easy to do. I just discovered this a few days ago, and it took me just a few minutes to set up.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So yeah, please, if you can, that would be helpful. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks. Go ahead, Bob.
Josh, thank you. Thank you. Quick question. With regard to other programming languages, have you looked at what others might be possible? For example, something as simple as JavaScript. Do you have any familiarity whether you can have a JavaScript call to ChatGPT and return the results? Not necessarily the level of complexity that you showed, but just a single query response.
I don't know about JavaScript. I believe Python, you can do this same thing, but I don't know about JavaScript.
Thank you.
Right.
Can I
Philip?
say, oh, sorry. Oh,
Sorry, Julio, you want to get in?
I was just going to say, the OpenAI API is just a regular, straightforward API, so you can actually make that call from anything. So you can certainly do it from JavaScript. I don't know of a lot of, there's a OpenAPI JavaScript library, but then people have built libraries that are on top of the OpenAPI libraries to make things even more sophisticated. I know one of them is LangChain. So I would look at that, LANG chain. That's a great API, but you can basically call OpenAPI from any language at all, even probably from things like Excel or anything that makes a HTTP request.
Yeah, Google Spreadsheet's got a couple of Chrome plugins. You can do it right from Excel or their spreadsheet, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead, Philip.
Maybe this is a slightly more generic question, but one of the challenges I have, whether programming or not, is asking the questions in such a way that I get the intended response. Has any of you found the right way, or maybe a post somewhere of talking to or phrasing to ChatGPT or other models?
I think if you just hold that for 30 seconds, our next speaker is going to answer that in droves. So great question. Hold on, just holding that. And then last question I have for Josh. Josh, we've talked over these weeks that ChatGPT is a really confident 12-year-old that writes well, but it's wrong 20% of the time. So if you're a teacher and having them put the comments on it, do you have confidence that all those comments are thing, or is it like everything where it's a good first draft and as a teacher, you probably need to scan it?
Yeah, I guess the way I think about it, Paul, is it's actually no different than a single ChatGPT query. I mean, it will make up academic citations, it will make technical errors. This is just scale.
Scan.
So yes, you may be able to get 1,000 essay prompts scored, but that's going to be the same level of reliability as a single one. So whatever you would need to do with a single prompt would still be true here. I think the contribution here is just the scaling element, but doesn't make those other things go away.
Yeah, so said differently, just because we scale doesn't mean we solve the accuracy problem.
Quite the opposite, in fact.
Right, exactly, yeah. Well, wonderful. So thank you so, Josh, wonderful. And then our second speaker, let's go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome.
Thanks, Paul. Hey, everyone. My name is Isai. I am a senior product manager. I've worked at companies like Meta, NVIDIA, Dolby, Intel, Pixar, working on machine learning, AI, deep learning, AR, VR, and a host of robotics products. I am unfortunately, my uncle is unfortunately not Paul, but happy to be here. Thanks for hosting this again, Paul. I'm going to be talking about prompt engineering. Let me quickly share my screen and let me know if you can see it. I will also drop.
You can see it. Yep.
Perfect. And I will also drop the link for everyone to, if you want to. I'll drop the link after it. So for some reason I can't access it. Okay. Sorry. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to be talking about prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering? Prompt engineering is the art and science of crafting effective prompts for AI language models. So somebody just asked, how do you actually phrase a question to ChatGPT? Are there, better ways to do it so that we can get answers quicker? The answer is yes. So the goal is to get accurate, relevant, and useful responses from the model. And model here is ChatGPT's GPT-3 or GPT-4. Now this is becoming really popular. People are, people are really getting into this. There's a ton of resources out there. If you just Google prompt engineering best prompts, you'll get a ton of resources out there for that. But we'll cover a few basic examples in this session. Also, feel free to stop and ask me questions anytime, Paul. I can't look at everyone, so if someone's raising their hand, just let me know.
Will do.
Awesome. Okay, so the principles of effective prompting. So there are 3 key principles. One is be clear in your prompt. The first one is you have to be absolutely clear and concise and specific. So for example, here, a poor way of asking ChatGPT something is define machine learning. You can go on Wikipedia and look at it. It's going to give you the same answer. But a better way of asking it is explain the basics of machine learning. And an even better way of asking it is explain with examples machine learning concepts like supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning to a 16-year-old. Now that'll give you a real basic explanation of machine learning like it would to a child. And it's not something that you can take and write in an exam, but it's good enough to understand for then learning more on it. The second one is give it more context. So give it enough information such that it understands your context, it understands why you're asking that question, and give you the right answer. So a poor way of asking is what are the dangers of AI? Again, these are something that you can look up online. A better way of asking it is what are the potential dangers of using AI in decision-making processes? And an even better way of asking it is, hey, you're a VP at Google. So you're saying ChatGPT, impersonate yourself, act as a VP at Google. How would you evaluate the dangers of using AI in the decision-making process for a product involving search? So that's the second way. And another way is to break it down. So if you just say this recipe will, so if you try to complete something with information with no context or it's not clear, it's not going to give you a right answer. This will generate a recipe, but it's just going to be a random recipe. Another way is to say, generate an Italian recipe with tomatoes and peas. Let's think step by step. So whenever you say, let's think step by step, it's going to break it down into steps for you. For advanced prompt engineers, they've heard of, there's a term called chain of thought prompting, and this is exactly what's happening here. Now, if you want an even better answer, here ChatGPT is amazing at creating new things. It's it's amazing at coming up with recipes that you've never heard before. And so this is a sample prompt to ask it, and then tell it to say, hey, let's explain step by step. And then you can actually see step by step. You can stop generating the answer, and then you can say, hey, I don't like this. Let's try something new. And again, think step by step. And so those are different ways you can ask ChatGPT different questions. We'll pause here. Is there any questions? Because I'm going to go ahead and show a few examples after this.
There'll be some questions here. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, then maybe,
Well, let me ask one question. What's your view on, I know some people like to say you are an expert in cooking and then go through that. Do you find that effective or not? Or what's your view on that?
So I think it depends on the context, right? So for example, and actually I can show it to you right here, right? So let's take this example. So here I asked it a simple math problem, right? It's a simple math problem. It's a word problem. It generates the answer, right? Ultimately, the answer is 3 pounds for this question. Now, you could also say, imagine you're an AP math professor teaching a class of 10-year-olds. How would you teach them to solve this problem? Explain step by step. And so the way it formats the answer is completely different. And it goes step by step, says, first you understand the problem, then you set up the equations, then you solve the equations, and simplifying and solving for R, right? So it goes through step by step. So whenever, for me personally, in everything I've done, when I need more detailed or when I need to understand the process, I say, imagine you are X. But when I just need the answer, I just go ahead and ask the question. And I found that pretty effective.
Bob, did I see you have your hand raised?
Yes. So there was a good YouTube I watched yesterday by a technical person, basically covered the same things you did, but he had one additional suggestion I just wanted to get your feedback on. So after the step-by-step and all the clarifications, he suggested asking ChatGPT if you have any questions for me to help answer the question.
Yeah, that's a great.
And there was a whole series, and this was like product marketing kind of stuff. So it asked like, what's your target market? How far are you trying to reach? That kind of stuff. Have you tried that, or what are your thoughts on that approach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's best if I go into the examples, because you're exactly bringing those up, right? So that's beyond the basics, right? So once we've covered how to craft an actual clear question with enough context, and we've asked ChatGPT to break it down step by step, there are much more concepts in prompt engineering that we could go through. One of the examples is 0, 1, and few shot prompt examples. So for example, if I say, generate a list of 5 keywords for a children's educational app for SEO purposes, it'll give me a generic answer. Now, if I say generate a list of 5 keywords for a children's education app for SEO purposes, and give it an example, is going to be, it gives me a more targeted answer. So here, the example I gave it was for a toddler. And so it gave me more toddler and preschool and early education. So the examples that the results were much more accurate. Then I gave it 3 different examples where, it was the same keyword, but additional information. So when I said math and science, it said, hey, okay, math and science is related to STEM. So let's, add a keyword for STEM. So the more examples you give it, the better the output is. And so in your case, in the example you just shared, what you do is after this, you can say, hey, are there other keywords that could be used that is related to kids, math and science, and, parent-child bonding, for example. That is, that's not in the above list. So that's another way to also ask the same questions, and it's still an effective question to ask. Did that answer your question?
For me, yes, and I guess it raises another question, which is, are there technical manuals, if that's the right terminology, for understanding more scientifically, mathematically, what prompt engineering really is, as opposed to trial and error and kind of learning on this kind of approach we're doing today?
Yeah, so there is a lot of sites. My favorite one is Learn Prompting, right? It goes through simple chain of thought, 0 shot, 1 shot that we just spoke about. Then it has advanced applications. You can even get into, if you want even more advanced, you can look up fine tuning. So we can, really look into fine tuning models. That is way deeper than prompt engineering. It depends on what you want to do at the end of the day. If you simply want to get better at using ChatGPT, this level is good. But if you want to get into, building your own models and then customizing the queries to those models, then yes, there's even advanced. So I'll share this chat at the end. I do have some references, so you feel free to take a look.
It's the former, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Cool. So we already went into a little bit of the prompting example. Thanks for that question. The others, if you want to go even beyond that, if you open up the OpenAI playground, you'll find, words like temperature, max tokens, top P, and other parameters that you could actually get an even better output. So for example, if you lower the temperature, the answers get more predictable. And if you increase the temperature, they get a little more creative. And there's an example for that here. If you want to get even better at prompting, you can go from least to most prompting. And this is one of the most commonly used prompting techniques, which is like you say, this database contains tables named products, users, orders, and suppliers. I will type queries and you will reply with what the terminal shows. I want you to reply with the table of query results in a single code block. And so this will generate the code. And then if you say, hey, okay, I do not like that, I do not like the ordering of the table. I want, order 1 and order 2 for 2 different products, regenerate the table. So you keep working through with ChatGPT to finally get the tables that you want. And so that's another way to approach prompt engineering. And then there are advanced concepts. Again, you can learn NLP. I just spoke about fine-tuning parameters. There are concepts like reinforcement learning with human feedback. One of my favorite prompts is somebody said, hey, ChatGPT, here's $100. Convert that to $60,000, generate all the ideas that you can to get that within a certain period of time. So there are queries that are really complex that will get you the answers that you're looking for. Go ahead, Philippe.
Really fabulous. Yeah, if someone's hands up, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about the aspect of ChatGPT learning or remembering previous conversations. If it steers left and learns something let's say incorrect about myself, like how do you clear it or do you correct it? Like how do you get the incorrect stuff out of the conversations that are coming up in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you ask me about the tool itself, there's a couple of ways to do it. So for example, each of these is one chat thread. So if you continue the chat thread, it remembers the past. But if you start a new chat thread, it doesn't remember. And if you feel like, no, I'm still not getting the answers I'm looking for, just go ahead and delete the previous chat thread. But most of the times, a brand new chat thread means new context.
Okay, so that would be also the case for APIs. If there's a new API based conversation, it's not remembering the previous threads I had.
APIs is different, right? APIs, there's 2 different APIs, right? There's one is the chat completion API, which creates, there's one user and there's one assistant, and there is a create completion API, which is essentially that's just questions that you ask, and each time you ask a question, it's a new context. So if you use the chat completion, it retains the context, but if you use another API, it does not retain the context.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep. All right, so let's quickly, there's only a few more minutes, so I'll quickly go through. I've added some references here. We can take a look. Someone just mentioned, I believe Paul or someone else just mentioned that they wanted to use ChatGPT for job search. And so I went ahead and used an example of myself. So I said, I'm a product manager candidate with 8+ years of experience. I've worked at companies like Meta, et cetera, et cetera. I have expertise in AI, machine learning, AR, VR. And then I said, generate a resume tailored for the following role with a focus on the impact to the key metrics relevant to the individual companies. And then I found a random product manager role. I gave it the qualifications and boom, it, gave me a template of the resume that I could use. Of course, I wouldn't suggest, just like Paul and Josh were mentioning, I wouldn't suggest, copy pasting this resume because that's not relevant to your experience. But this is a great starting point if you're, stuck, especially when you're writing documents or generating presentations, if you're really stuck and if you can't move forward. Mike?
Go ahead, Mike. Are you mute? Mike Melville, I think you're still.
Oh,
mute.
yep, I'm off mute. Okay, I was wondering if you could go over temperature quickly. You'd quickly gone over that, and if you could just go over that again briefly.
Yeah, maybe we can use an example.
So
Okay.
she's showing playground there for folks who haven't seen it.
Yep. So if I say, so this right now I'm opening OpenAI Playground. You can just go to OpenAI and it's, available in the top bar once you've logged in. If I say, a higher temperature, right? And if I say generate image, a dog in the park. So that's the answer I get.
Okay.
This is the picture of a medium-sized black-white dog running through a park on a sunny day. And now lower the temperature. And this is the answer I get for when I lower the temperature. So this
Wait, how did you lower the temperature? You wrote lower the temperature?
Yes, right here on the side of the screen.
The scroll bar, Mike.
Oh, the scroll
Slider?
bar, okay.
Yeah. So when I ask this again, right, it usually repeats the answers over and over again. So it will not, when the temperature is lower, it usually starts repeating the answer over and over again compared to when the temperature is much higher, where it gets creative a lot. And so when the temperature is lower, I'm going to remove this and then I'm going to submit again. It's a new one, but you keep asking this over and over again for a couple of times, it's going to start repeating after the third or fourth time. There you go. It said brown and white dog before. Now it says brown and white dog again. It starts repeating and it becomes more deterministic when the temperature is lower. But if you want to generate creative out of the box ideas, you want to keep the temperature a little higher.
You know what I do? Just somebody asked a question about, getting the, after you go through the prompts and getting the being able to use the same prompt again. After I go through a bunch of prompts and get the exact right thing, I will ask ChatGPT, give me the exact prompt to use to get this exact answer. And then it gives me the prompt.
Yes, I love that approach, honestly, too. Especially if you're using apps like Midjourney, where you need to generate a complex query to get the image you want. A great query to ask ChatGPT is to say, hey, I need this from Midjourney. Midjourney is an AI image generation tool. This is, I generate an image description of a dog in the park or generate 10 image descriptions of a dog in the park. And then he'll give you 10 different image descriptions that you can then use on Midjourney. So that's a great way, yes.
Let's go to one more question.
Thank
Adam from Australia, and then we'll do it at Rosemary. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Someone was asking earlier, I think, about like a guidebook programmatically, more so how you can instruct it. I've just shared a link to a GitHub, which is a teach me prompt. But more importantly, if you look into it, you can see like on line 17, it says, iterate through items in hashtag question category. And then line 25 starts this block called question category. So it just gives some insight into how you can start to develop things more programmatically from a prompt engineering perspective. Yeah, there you go. So you see line 25 question category, it's basically creating a variable. So then you can refer to hashtag question category other places in the prompt, like line 17, and it'll understand to iterate through that other block of items. So it just sort of started to open my mind about other ways you can really use prompt engineering to construct. I've also found at the very end, I've started putting what I call pre-processing. So I will say the following terms, that I mentioned previously, pull in some context around those first before you follow my instruction set. And I find it improves the results because it frames all this additional context up front.
Absolutely, that's amazing insight, because the more you use examples, it essentially ChatGPT is learning from your examples also. So It gives you more relevant answers from your example. Now I just want to quickly wrap up before the next question. Prompt engineering is amazing, but just know that what is working on ChatGPT and the kind of answers you get may not be the same answer that you get from other models. I have Edge as well, but I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'll show this in Bard, right? So we asked this math word prompt to ChatGPT. It gave you an explanation, and at the end it said, the answer is 3. But whereas if you ask it on Bard, it tells you the answer is 3 and then goes in to solve it. And even the way it structures the answer when you role play with it is different for each AI model. So the same prompt will work differently on different AI models, and that is something important to remember.
Wonderful. Really fabulous presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep. One last thing. So I built this prompt engineer simulator. In fact, I took less than 3 days. I haven't done any coding in over 5 years, but I took less than 3 days to code this entire app. It uses, the OpenAI API. It'll walk you through and help you be a better prompt engineer. I'm looking for people who can do a user research study with me. So if you're available, I'll leave some details in the chat. Please reach out. Thanks again.
So hang on. So you're interested, you need people, you want them to contact you for
Yes,
user.
so if you want to participate in the user research study, please reach out to me.
Okay, great. Perfect. Super. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We've got 8 minutes. I always have my meetings early. So Rosemary, you've got 5.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Rosemary Briscoe. I'm president of To The Web, and we work with marketing teams of enterprise software companies. And Josh, thank you for introducing the topic of sentiment analysis. That's what I'm going to show you today. My use case is really talking to the non-techies, the business people here. So let me just share my screen. And
we can see it.
yeah.
Oh, that's black.
Yeah, the wrong screen came up.
Okay. Now we see your slide.
Okay, great. All right. So thank you. So I wanted to do sentiment analysis review of REI customer reviews for the last 3 years. And sentiment analysis allows us to understand how people feel about their opinions about a product or service. So I went to Trustpilot and I downloaded 40 of their customer reviews from REI for the last 3 years. So REI is an outdoor sports company in the US. I fed my query into nat.dev using ChatGPT 4 because I was having problems with just ChatGPT. So let me just tell you what I asked in my prompt. I asked it to analyze all the reviews that I had downloaded. I had to do some cleanup in the reviews because there's a lot of junk that comes in the download. I then asked it to categorize it by the type of satisfaction or dissatisfaction, put it into a table, and look at any significant changes over the years, specifically if they related to COVID. And what I was returned with was first a table that showed the whole list of the 40 reviews, telling me whether they were negative or positive and what the type was. And then the most useful thing when you need to take something to a customer is to be able to show the overall sentiment value. So sadly, in this case with REI, 25 out of the 40 were negative and only 12 were positive. So that's a really negative thing for our company to have. And what we found was that it didn't really have a lot of impact from COVID, even because even just glancing down here, you can see a lot of customer service issues. So then what I did was I tried Claude, which is, as you know, another AI tool. And I asked it also to look at the reviews. And then from there, I got a whole different set of details about what the sentiment was and where some of the problems might have been. Now, it gave me a little bit different perspective, but it's still, you're gathering data really quickly in a useful way. And then one other way to use it also in the business setting is to analyze competitor tweets or customer tweets. And so in this case, I was asking ChatGPT to look at two different companies, e-commerce platform companies. And I asked it to, I took all the tweets for both companies for this year, and I asked it to look at which tweets were more likely to be clicked frequently. And then I also asked it what steps could be taken to improve it. So it first returned information on all of the tweets for the year. And then when I did reprompts, it gave me a lot more information about how the company could improve on the tweets. So there's just two great ways to use ChatGPT on the business side. And sentiment analysis, a really useful thing for companies to know about.
That's wonderful. Rosemary, how confident are you with the sentiment characterization? When it says angry, are they really angry, or happy? Are they really happy? Or
so it was interesting. You know, I looked at, let me just go back here. No, I think it did a really good job. There's, when just looking down here, you can see that a lot of these are neutral. And then I also, of course, I had all the raw data that I had to just download. And of course, I'm not a programmer, so I have to do the cut and paste piece. But when you look at this, you can just see just horrible customer experience, incompetent, impossible, not honoring a rebate. You know, you could actually just glance at this and see that they have a real serious customer support issue. So I feel that after reading these and looking at the data, that it did a really good job of it.
that's great. Great. One last question for Rosemary. Anybody in the audience? I see it. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, Rosemary, how did you get the tweet information into ChatGPT to analyze it?
Oh, Bob, I had a copy and pasted. So
Okay.
there's really, so I actually built a little tool to scrape websites, to scrape web pages, which made it really easy for me to grab web pages. But there's a lot of software, or a lot of pages that you can't do that with. So
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful evening yet again. Please keep sending suggestions how we can make these meetings better and tell others. And if you have yourself or just learning, come to our 101, or if you have other folks there as well. And if you're interested in the job search, dedicated one, let me know if there's enough interest there, and we'll put that together as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.